Hello, welcome along to the Crystal Conversation, which today is both a podcast and a video, in which we share a talk, a chat with Lauren De Silva, who is the founder of Touchstone Therapies and Touchstone School of Crystal Therapy Healing. Touchstone is a member of the ACHO as a membership school. Lauren has written, I think it's 4, maybe now 5 books, 3 or 4 books related to crystals over many years. And speakers that have worked with her have described her as a true master of crystal energies, teaching through integrity, experience, and passion. And I can only reinforce that, having shared time with Lauren. So I'm absolutely delighted, particularly at this particular time of in bulk, to be sharing time with Lauren. So welcome, Lauren.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to talk to you, Lynn. It's lovely to connect with you again.
Thank you. Well, I mean, in this connection, it is a very important at this time, and I'm just interested in how things have been for you through this last year and coming into 2021 now. What have you been up to?
Well, obviously, like everybody else, our world has been turned upside down, really, because in a normal year and what I had planned for last year, I had lots of teaching and training students planned, and travel, and as for so many people, all of that had to be shelved and put on hold. So it's been an unusual time, I think, for everyone. I was very lucky just before COVID hit and before the first lockdown. I'd been approached by a publisher who Godsfield, who published the Crystal Bible, and they were looking to revamp the Bible series and actually come out with a new series, because the Bible series is actually quite old now. And they asked me if I would be interested in writing the Crystal one for their companion series. It's called the Godsfield Companions. And of course I said yes, because absolutely. And I didn't know what was going to happen. At the time when I said yes, I thought, oh yes, I'll be able to get my writing in. I'll have to be really focused because I can see I've got a retreat happening here and I've got class happening there, and I'll work it round, it will be fine. And as it turned out, all of the other things had to be postponed or cancelled. So I really had the unusual situation where I could totally focus.
So it was as if things were cleared out of the way almost.
Absolutely, it was like the universe cleared the deck.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it wasn't just for me, and I wouldn't claim that, but it did feel like some great hand had just swept all my other commitments out of the way, and I could literally just sit and quietly write the book. So that was a really interesting experience, because in the past the other books and manuals I've written have all been done around my other work. I've never really had the luxury of just having that complete focus. I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it, although I miss seeing my students, and I'm looking forward to being able to go out there and teach them again, and to work individually with my clients again, all those things. But I have enjoyed that kind of writer's process of going very deep within to produce something, and it's quite a big book actually, that's going to be coming out in June, beginning of June. So it's been an eye-opener. It's the first time I've written for a large publisher. And the whole process is actually much bigger than anyone would realize, with rounds of edits and illustrations, and then it's going off. At the moment it's being translated into several different languages and all sorts of things going on behind the scenes, ready for that launch date. So that was a really interesting experience. And as I say, just it did feel like a bit of magical timing for me personally. I wouldn't normally have had that full-on focus opportunity. So that was good. And then obviously I handed the book over, and we were still unable to do our normal work. So which got me thinking, okay, for a little while, I think like most people, I sort of sat there and thought, oh, and I did things like I painted the furniture in my healing room. So like the cabinet behind me got a makeover, that table got a makeover. That's a malachite design table that I did, a paper table. And I sort of absorbed myself in making my healing room furniture look nice. And then we still couldn't really get back to normal work. So I was like, okay, this is going on longer than anyone was predicting. And it got me thinking, what can I do whilst I cannot see groups of people? What else can I do? So it's been an interesting process. It's kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. So I think it probably, lots and lots of people have found this. I've had to embrace technology, like what we're doing here, you know, and thank goodness for technology, because we've been able to reach out to people that, you know, 10 or 15 years ago, this would not have been so easy, would it? And I thought, okay, well, what can I offer? I mean, my normal training is for students who wish to become crystal therapy practitioners. So it's not appropriate to offer that online, because I think it's really important that if you're going to be working with the public as a professional, you should train in person. But I thought, okay, there's a whole load of people out there who would love to connect with crystals, who don't necessarily want to train as practitioners. And so I wrote an online course, which I've delivered the first set of, which was for people, you know, who actually just love crystals and want to know more things they can do with crystals. And that ran at the end of last year, and we just finished in January. We did 6 2-hour sessions on a Thursday evening, and it was really interesting. I was surprised. I had 3 people on that course that had already done some training with me, who just wanted to come back and have a refresher, and who really enjoyed it. I was worried that there wouldn't be enough new stuff in there for them, but actually the feedback I got was that they really thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's reinvigorated their interest in crystals and given them the impetus to get on and do their homework and that sort of thing. And then I had 3 people on the course who were actually in America. And I thought, oh, this is interesting, because normally, obviously, I have had people fly in for my courses, and I've occasionally had someone from America or Brazil or Cambodia, quite far-flung places, but not normally 3 on one course. And it clearly is giving the opportunity for people to connect with me who wouldn't necessarily be able to normally. So that was really interesting as well. And the course, I'm sort of going to run it again, because it was enjoyable. I enjoyed teaching it. I think I've missed teaching so much. And I just needed to connect with people again. And the feedback I got was great. And people were really looking forward to the next installment, sort of thing. So I'm going to run it again. And it's based around the new book. So the Crystal Companion book that is going to be published this year is really designed for people who just like crystals, are drawn to crystals, and want to know, what can I do with them?
I love the way how this has all unfurled for you, Lauren, because I know, having met you and worked within the crystal retreats with you, you do anchor and hold an awareness of the crystalline consciousness, I would say. And I think with everything you've just said, it's almost as if, in some ways, you've been able to bring this forward, and the connections have happened both around the world, globally, and also with your books and your publishers as well. And you've almost magnetized or drawn that level up a little bit, that level of crystal awareness up a little bit. Is I'm just struck by how that may have been part of the process you've been in this year. I don't know
think
if you,
so.
you think along those lines. Yeah.
I mean, Steve, my husband, who you've met,
Yeah.
says
God,
actually
Steve.
this is, yes, his view on it is that it needed something like this to happen to get me to step back from my usual routine, because I fill my calendar with my normal courses, and I've been teaching those for a long time now. So, you know, my crystal teaching, oh, I don't know, at least 18 years or something. It's a long time that I've been training crystal therapists up. And because it's quite engrossing and I enjoy doing it, I've been doing the same sort of, offering the same courses for a long time. And I love the course and the professional training, and I love doing that. But it was time for something new. And I think time to widen it, you know, because it's quite a narrow number of people, if you like, that would want to actually be a practitioner, isn't it? Compared to the vast number of people who just enjoy crystal energies and want to get more from the crystals. And I also think, you know, this year it's been a wobble. People have really found it quite hard to navigate their way through the past year with all the restrictions of COVID. And I think the crystals give us some sense of stability. You know, they have this, because they're so old, they have this kind of calming influence that says, you know what, we were here before, we will be here during, and we will be here after. And we can apply that to our own lives, can't we? We can say, you know, we will withstand this time of turbulence. We can hold ourselves stable and secure, and we will get through. And instead of saying, you know, at times when I was having to cancel courses, that felt awful. Having to tell students that were so keen to come that they couldn't come because of the restrictions, that did feel pretty dreadful. And at times I felt myself going, oh, why? But I think we just have to take the best from what we've got and say, what opportunities does it offer? There is a chance to do something new here. There is a chance where we can look within and we can change, and we've got to grab that opportunity rather than sit around feeling like victims of what's happening around the world. We've just got to say, okay, we are within our four walls at the moment. We're in lockdown in the UK. We're not meant to go out apart from a little bit of exercise. That is it, really. Essential travel, as it said. So what can we do? What can we do with our crystals in our own home? And I think the crystals do offer us this opportunity to feel a lot stronger and more balanced.
The crystalline energy is becoming more raised and available to people in their consciousness. It's becoming more apparent, and hence you've got a broader net and you can maybe reach more people.
I think yeah, possibly. I think as well, just people are sitting around saying, oh, I can't work. What can I do? You know, and those who are being drawn, it's giving them the space that perhaps they wouldn't normally have to wake up. You know, we know that spiritual journey is not something you can just do by going out of yourself. You have to actually turn within as well, and you have to listen to guidance and the promptings of your spirit to find your path. And I think having such a big disruption is actually waking a lot of people up. It makes people sort of realize that there's more to life than just the sort of day job, if you like, and that they might have other priorities that they hadn't really noticed before because they were so busy. So it's kind of, for a lot of people, I know a lot of people have to work anyway, the key workers, thank you, all those key workers that have kept us all going through all of this, because we can't just everyone stop. But for those that have been left with extra time, it has given, I think, some introspection, and the possibility that they can start to look into things that they've perhaps been putting off for a long time. You know, I know people come to me and say, I've been looking at your courses for years, and now it feels like time. You know, so it's, we wouldn't wish a global pandemic on anyone, would we really? Let's be honest. As a route to awakening, it's not kind of, it's not a pleasant one. However, everything can serve to awaken us, and this is one of those opportunities, I think. And I think it's so enormous, the fact it's affecting everyone around the planet, really.
Global.
It's huge. You know, when was the last thing a huge, you know, going back to horrible world wars that affected people like that, rather than feeling that this is something just purely awful that we need to get past, it's given us time to reevaluate what we need in our lives, what's important to us, and where we're going. So I've had conversations with people. I'm still seeing clients online, thank goodness for technology. So I can't see anyone in my healing room at the moment, but I'm connecting with clients online. And interestingly, again, clients in America particularly, and yesterday a client in Australia. They're coming from all over the world now, which is interesting and different, and I'm enjoying that aspect. But when I'm talking to the clients, there is this feeling of reevaluation and time to change, time to reprioritize, which I think, you know, that's the useful side of the messy time.
Yeah, I mean, and I do think the crystals, because they are a global phenomena around the world, it is almost taking our levels of interaction to the level the crystals are at, which is that they are a global level of communication. So it's almost like we can step into that a little bit more. We can see ourselves as part of a more global network, really, in partnership with the crystals.
I think so. I think that's a perfect way of describing what's happening, actually. And it's kind of making us realize that, well, hopefully it's making us realize that actually we're not individual countries, are we? We are a united world, and we have to look at what's happening across the world, not just in our backyard. You have to look at your backyard, you have to look after your backyard, but you have to remember that connection across the whole planet, and that actually humanity is connected. Like you say, I think the crystals do that for us. I think that they are one of the ways that we can actually achieve that feeling of unity, which you know, as I've been working with the crystals over the years, that's one of their key messages, that look for where we're similar, not at where we're different. Look at the unity, look at where we can work together, you know. And that's going to be really important in times that, you know, this is only one challenge that the earth and humanity is going through at the moment. We know that earth is actually changing, that climate change is happening, and if we don't unite across the globe, we, you know, humanity hasn't got a very long future if we don't actually have that desire to cooperate and to make things better together as a species. So, you know, I've been doing in this last year, I've been doing a lot of work with goddesses. So I've been working with the goddess, and I think it's also a time of awakening to the goddess, not just awakening to crystals. Crystals and the goddess seem to just work so well together, because they're from her body. They're from the body of Gaia, and the great goddess. And I've been kind of tuning in much more over the last few years to the divine feminine. I feel like the divine masculine has actually had dominance for several millennia, more than that, and it's time for this rebalancing on the planet and bringing the feminine energy up, not so it overtakes the masculine energy, but so that we come into balance and equality. So we've got, humanity's got that challenge to bring men and women onto a sort of equal footing. But I think we've actually got a spiritual challenge where we're being asked to recognize the divine feminine in our spirituality. So that's where I've been kind of focused for the last couple of years now, looking at the goddess and what her lessons are and how she brings us into balance. Because even for women, if you want to be a successful woman in the world at the moment, or certainly up to very recently, you had to pretend you were a man almost. You had to do the go-get-it sort of very yang energy of being masculine. And it's actually, the goddess is teaching us to bring our femininity onto a world stage. So it's been a really interesting journey, and the crystals have been supporting that for me and sort of providing the keys into the goddess energies.
I'm so grateful for what you're saying at this point, Lauren, because as I reflected on having an opportunity to meet with you, I often think it's true of what people leave you with. And I was just reflecting on my experience of being with you, and I was feeling, the work that you have done with the goddess, the energies therein are something that you do bring forward, and I feel that it's quite palpable in the work that you do, Lauren.
Oh, thank you.
Again, it's something that travels through the countries. It's an energy. It's a global energy again, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I did for a while locally. A friend of mine who's a yoga teacher ran a women's group, a women's circle. It must have been a couple of years ago now. It can't have been last year, we know that. So because we gathered in her house, so it obviously wasn't last year. But in that circle, we had a different focus. It was a new moon circle, and we had a different focus each new moon. And one of the new moons, the focus was on Mother Earth. And she led us through a visualization, and I remember her leading us into meeting Gaia as the personification of Mother Earth, and asking what she had to say to us. And I was actually really startled, because you think of Gaia, Mother Earth, as being so huge, so all-encompassing, so powerful. And what she actually said to me, and I heard it as clear as day, was help. And she called help to me, and it was actually shocked me. And the message continued, why do you continue to abuse me? I give you everything. And that was so powerful, and what was interesting, because we go around the circle when we did this women's circle, hearing other people's feedback. And before I got to my feedback, my friend who was running the circle gave hers, and she had heard exactly the same thing, which was exactly, and that was a serious wake-up call. I've been an environmentalist for all my adult life. I was in the Green Party when I was in my early 20s. I've always sort of believed that we should treat our environment with love and care and respect, and our resources, we should look after them. And I remember crying when I was an unusual child, as I think many of us who are drawn to crystals are unusual children, quite introverted and quiet and sensitive. But I remember crying as a child when I understood that rainforests were being cut down.
Yes, there's a connection where you almost feel it, don't you? You almost feel the pain, even if you can't put it into words as a child, but it's so innocent as a child. It's just a natural way that your being processes things. It's reflective of some type of connection, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it just emotionally felt so charged for me. And we're nearly 50 years ago, and I don't like to think how much more rainforest has been lost in those 50 years. It's horrendous. So hearing Mother Earth say help to me, one part of me has always been concerned with the environment and always wanted to help on that level, but actually hearing the goddess ask specifically for help like that was a shock, and it made me think we just cannot continue to do this. We must take responsibility for our actions. And the crystals, I think, really link us back to the goddess. So I know you've been interested in the work that I've been doing with the Starbrary Quartz, for example, and which is, if anyone doesn't know what Starbrary Quartz is, it's quartz that's encoded with information. There's lots of markings on Starbrary Quartz. It comes from Brazil. It's a specific kind of quartz from Brazil. It's got a very high, fine vibration to it, and it is encoded with information, and it takes us out, when we connect with it, into the cosmos. But it doesn't take us out to escape into the cosmos. It takes us out to see that global viewpoint of helping our planet heal from that cosmic viewpoint. So that's what I've also been, alongside the goddess work, I've also been working with the Starbrary Quartz energies to send very high frequency healing down onto the planet. And what we've seen as the group working with Starbraries, which fortunately I've got an online group for that work, so we've been able to continue. What we've seen is that the energy that we can channel down from the cosmos, from the Starbrary Quartz, goes into the earth, into the grid, the energy grid around the earth, and helps to heal that energy grid which has been disrupted. And I think we all need the energy grid. All the creatures, all the humans, everybody needs to be connected into that grid of energy that encircles the planet. So we ground ourselves down into that. So the Starbrary Quartz first, and tell me if I'm rambling, by the way, and going off topic. I'm sure.
I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by. I'm fascinated by what you're saying, Lauren, because you're able to put in quite simple terms, quite complex ideas, really. The sense of being able to connect to an expanded energy, and in turn be as a conduit. Over time, you build up this capacity that in turn can connect into the very planet that we live upon, and for individuals to realise their part in that, really, and to begin to consider it as an option should we want to be working with going forward with the planet and supporting and being in support of her. I'm fascinated by what you're saying, Lauren. Yeah. And I know I have a Starbrary Quartz, and I know the
good. Oh yes, you do, from retreat, don't you? Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know the experience you're describing. It does take you to a more expanded level of intelligence awareness that over time you can build up a relationship with, can't you? And that's what you're describing. You're describing the relational build-up.
Yeah, you know, I believe, and this is obviously a personal belief, I can't prove it, although experientially I totally believe it, and I'm, you know, I can say it's true for me. Other people might say, oh, she's weird, but I believe that we have other helpers from other parts of the cosmos who are concerned about humanity and concerned about the planet and want to help us shift out of the old cycle of destructiveness and greed and using the planet into a new cycle where we're co-creators with the planet.
Absolutely. And I love the way that you're actually making this process, you're enabling it to happen, because we have, as human beings, seen ourselves as just earthbound. We haven't seen ourselves necessarily as living on a planet, but as part of a galaxy, that's part of the universe, you know, and actually extending an awareness possibility out in that way. So yes.
Yeah, I think the fate of planet Earth creates a ripple effect out into the whole of the universe, and it's we have these helpers from other places in the cosmos that really want to see us succeed and to overcome these challenges and to actually make Earth into a harmonious planet where, and this is back to unity, we talked about unity a little while ago. This is the key message from the Starbrary Quartz, of unity consciousness, where we're not all divided and on this side and that side, and we have that, we're being shown that in very stark relief, aren't we, with a lot of news feeds and social media where different people have very stridently different viewpoints, and we lose the connection when we do that. When we do that, you're right, you're wrong business, that very duality style of consciousness, which most people fall into, and I'm as guilty as anyone else sometimes of doing that, we actually lose what connects us at a higher level, and we lose touch with that. And the Starberries help us regain the feeling of unity when we connect with them, and we actually have the ability, when we're working with those, to have a really expanded awareness, expanded consciousness that feels so beautiful. I mean, quite often I'll be leading a Starberry visualization and I'm going through it at the same time.
Yes, I
the only
know.
way I can lead those ones. I don't want to
know.
come back again,
No.
but I do
No.
come back. It's very important that you don't just sit out there in the cosmos.
But that again is the feminine principle, isn't it? It's being within an environment that facilitates others, whilst at the same time exploring yourself, and that's a very feminine approach to how we develop in all of this, isn't it? And
I think
yes.
so. Yes, yeah. I think so. And we do have male members of the different groups, and I do have men connecting with the visualizations I do, but I think they need to be open to the feminine side of themselves. So I think it takes a special sort of man who is ready to be open to engage with goddess work or engage with the cosmic crystal work. But there are men out there that do that, and I think more and more men are waking up to that side of themselves, because we're all masculine and feminine. We're not just, we may be in feminine bodies this lifetime, but we haven't only got feminine energies in us. It's just easier for us because we've been born into feminine bodies. It's easier for us to connect into that divine feminine way of being. But I think it's really important that men also do allow the feminine side of their nature
we need it so much, don't we? We do need it so much to rebalance that.
We do. And you can see hopeful signs around the world. There are a few, not large numbers, but a few world leaders that are embodying what it is to be a compassionate leader, which is quite something, actually, to see that. So there is hope. There's hope from, we can do this from the healing point of view, from the spirituality point of view, but there is hope right down on political level as well, that things are changing in a more respectful way for the planet. So kind of watching with interest at the moment at what's happening on all the different levels as things unfold. Certainly not a boring time to be alive, is it?
Far from it. A very important time, isn't it?
It really is.
Very important. And with that importancy of time, I'm aware we might be heading towards thinking of winding this up, which is remarkable because it's been truly fascinating hearing your reflections. And thank you so much, Lauren, for giving us a share of probably what lives inside of you every day, really, love. So thank you for sharing that with us. It's beautiful.
You're welcome.
Really beautiful. But I wanted, I know that you do have a new book coming out. I know we're not too, and it's just emerging now, but I just wondered if there's anything you could share with us, the viewers and the listeners, about that.
Okay. Yes, it comes out on June the 4th, I think, and it is available. It's called Crystals. not surprisingly.
True to form.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it says what it does what it says on the cover. It's available to pre-order now from Amazon in the UK at least. And it's going to be, I can see from my Amazon page that it's going to be not just a paper copy book, but also one you can get on your Kindle if you like to do.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So it's available both ways. And I'll say it's really aimed at people who would like to get going with crystals. Perhaps they might have been given a gift of a crystal, or they might have gone on holiday and been drawn to a crystal. And they're thinking, well, what do I do with this? Okay, it's very pretty, but what do I do with it? And it's really walking them through the different considerations that you need to think about when you're working with crystals. So it takes you through how to care for your crystals. And this is the same format as the Crystal Companions online course I'm running. So how to care for your crystals, how to care for your own energy, so energy safety, such as grounding, really important. And then also about the sort of the centers in the body, the chakras. What else do we talk about? We talk about crystals through your everyday life, how you can actually bring crystal awareness into every day, so they actually become integrated into your routines.
Yeah.
You don't have to do them as something separate, you know.
You integrate. Oh, lovely. Yes, it
really
makes
nice.
it part of everyday experience and existence, and that's really where you feel a shift when you are able to do that. Just that connection makes such a shift. Yeah,
that's right. So they're enhancing everyday life, and you don't have to sort of go off and sit alone for a week with them. You can, which not many people have got that luxury. And then also there's a directory of crystals going through pretty much the common crystals. I've tried not to go for the really unusual or really rare or difficult to obtain crystals. I've gone for the ones that you're most likely to have in your collection or to want to build in your collection, particularly if you are starting out on the crystal path, but hopefully not just for people that are starting out. It should give people that have been working with crystals for a good while some new ideas and new things that they can try with their crystals as well. So there is a wider audience for this. But yeah, I so enjoyed the process of writing the book and just having that luxury of time to focus on it. So I've got that coming out later this year. I've also, for those people who have already been doing crystals for a while and had some training, I've also been doing masterclasses over the lockdown times. So I'm doing roughly a monthly masterclass. We've done a Crystals and the Goddess one. We've done a Starbrary Quartz one. We've done Maiden, Mother and Crone. We did one on crystal archetypes, looking at your personality archetypes. This month is Crystals on the Tree of Life, which is another interest of mine, that you can see my Tree of Life on the wall there. I've worked with the Tree of Life for quite a lot of years now as a kind of structure for spiritual development. So that one's full. And then, I don't know, I'll decide what I'm going to do next month. So the aim is to give people a chance to do some CPD. And again, this is what the luxury of having the technology does now, in that I can actually run a masterclass day from my healing room and connect with people who wouldn't normally be able to travel to Mid Wales, where I live. So whereas usually I've been running masterclasses for some years for my students for their continuing professional development, but usually they are the ones that live within a couple of hours radius of here. But for the masterclasses online, I've had people from the South Coast and, you know, people from all over the country attend those. So that's been really nice.
This, because it's almost as if whatever's being generated through what you're offering almost seeds out up and down the country, around the world, and through the experience of connecting in with it on that larger, broader level, we kind of anchor something. You know, I know I did the Bridget offering that you offered yesterday, and it really felt like an anchoring of Bride and Bridget, and that's what the medium you're offering facilitates. We can each anchor it at differing points, and of course, as a crystalline network, that's kind of like what we need, really.
Yeah,
so
I mean, that's exactly when I said, Steve said, this is, you know, this is a time. I think this is what he was getting at, is it's time to come out of your comfort zone, of all your familiar people that you work with time and time again, and actually let yourself be found by people that are much more widely spread.
What a beautiful find. What a beautiful... we found you a long time ago, but yes, how beautiful. Now, could you just take us through where people can find out more information and how to connect with you, Lauren?
Okay, so several different sort of pathways to connect with me. I have got a Facebook page. Now, I apologise to anyone who sent me a friend request on Facebook that I haven't clicked on, because I have found, I don't know about you, but I found quite a lot of friend requests are just somebody trying to sell you something. So unless I recognise the name, I tend not to actually accept those. But my Facebook page is actually set, if you search my name, it's set to public, so you can see when, like the in-bulk visualization, you can see that if you want to connect with me. I've got a couple of different websites, but the main one to look at is crystaltherapy.co.uk, which is www.crystal-therapy.co.uk, because that's got the diary page on it. That'll tell you when various things are happening. And there's also an option that you can subscribe to my newsletter, and I am really bad at getting my newsletter out every month. It's meant to be monthly. Sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's a couple of months, but I do send a newsletter out, and the newsletter has got the upcoming information as well. So if you want to subscribe to that with your email, you can do, and you can get onto the subscription from my website as well. So, you know, there's various ways to get in touch with me. Find me. Find me. Have a look at what I do. Have a look at Facebook, or have a look at the blog on my crystal-therapy.co.uk website, because that's got some of my visualizations on it, and you'll know, I think people know if they've found somebody that they are on a wavelength with, that they can work with, and then take it from there. I've got a YouTube channel as well. I was actually I had a Touchstones Therapies YouTube channel, which I've used in more recent years, but I'm actually going to revive my Lauren De Silva YouTube channel as well, which is much older. So this interview hopefully will be going on to that one, so you might want to have a look at YouTube as well.
Beautiful. Well, and I think, as you say, in my experience of you, Lauren, is it does include a lot of researched, amazing material, but it's also grounded in the emotional, experiential, the heart-centered work. And I just think it's so beautiful, and such a wonderful gift that you're bringing forward, Lauren. And your Facebook page is remarkable, because then suddenly one can have an experience of sitting just at the right time with the energies you're bringing forward. So thank you from all of us that benefit from that. It's wonderful.
You're welcome. Yeah, and I do. This is the important, for me, this is the important centre, the most important centre, not this one.